Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to Paramedic. In this week's video, I'm going to be giving you kind of a review of some of the books that I've found to be most helpful in my EMS career. Alright, so this video is going to be pretty short and sweet because I'm not going to go into depth about what each of these books covers. I'm going to give you kind of a quick overview of the book, how it works, and who it will be useful for. This stack I have right here really covers a wide range between, civilians that want more of a first aid knowledge, to law enforcement, to more of the paramedic level and tactical medicine fields that I participate in. So I kind of want to give you a rundown of the books that I find most helpful. Now, I'll preface this entire thing by saying that these are not necessarily the best books out there. There are a lot of great reference guides. These are simply what I have found to be the most useful for me. So if you have other stuff that's really worked for you, leave them in the comments down below. Other subscribers or people commenting on this video can see it and maybe use those resources as well as the ones that I'm listing today. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first book I want to talk about is actually the Rookie's Handbook. Now this is going to be useful for police officers, both new and maybe some veteran police officers. And what I really like about this book is it's super small, it's made to be used as a quick reference guide, and it basically gives you a bunch of different scenarios. So it has an appendix that discusses nonviolent calls and then violent calls. Gives you a quick page number that you can find those calls on. And on each page, it will give you what the call is. It will tell you quick officer safety considerations in quick bullet points that you can read on the fly. And then it gives you a list of outcomes and objectives for that call, what you should try to accomplish as a police officer. As a reserve, I don't get a ton of academy time. I don't have near the experience a lot of the full-time officers have. So I really found this was useful when I was going out on patrol to just kind of learn to do a lot of the things that were second nature to others. And then it's also just a quick reminder for people that are going through an FTO program, kind of what you want to accomplish on each call. So I'd really recommend this for new officers. All right, so the second book I have is the Knowles Wilderness Medicine textbook. If you don't know what Knowles is the National Outdoor Leadership School, and they're a organization that really focuses on everything outdoors, if you didn't gather that by the name. And these guys put on a wilderness EMT course that is super good. I took it probably 4 years ago in Golden, Colorado, and I learned a ton. If you're a paramedic and you're looking at it and you're saying, oh, it's an EMT course, I'm not sure that's at my level. It definitely is. They teach you how to do so much outdoors without your ambulance, without tons of supplies. And then they teach you some advanced techniques like setting fractures or dislocations, doing sutures and things like that. So this is a great class to take. But this book is actually phenomenal. So this book goes through basically everything you're going to encounter for first aid. And for a civilian, this is really great because it's teaching you how to do things without a ton of tools. And it's teaching how to do things in really austere environments in the wilderness, as the name implies. So in the contents here, just really briefly, and it has more subcategories, but it goes over patient assessment, traumatic injuries, environmental injuries, medical emergencies, expedition medicine, and then in the appendices in the back, it goes through what you should have in your first aid kit. It gives you recommendations for different kinds of antibiotics. So things like that. So this book is really great for pretty much anyone, whether you're a paramedic, a physician, or a civilian that just wants a better handle on first aid. This is both a great textbook to kind of read and get familiar with, but it's also a good reference book for you. I am pretty sure that they have a newer edition than the 5th edition, but I haven't bought it. It's been a while since I've been in the class. But I really felt like this is one of the most valuable books for me. In something that wasn't necessarily ambulance oriented. All right, so getting more into kind of the professional side of these books, this is the AMLS textbook. And if you don't know what AMLS stands for, this is the Advanced Medical Life Support textbook. I'm an instructor for this course. It's put on by NAEMT, which is a really big company. They're international, and they do actually another one of these textbooks I'm going to show you. But AMLS, as the name implies, really goes through your medical calls and kind of an advanced assessment and treatment of those. The course is excellent. It's 2 days. I think it's about 16 hours. And it really delves in deep on your assessments and like looking at abdominal issues primarily, but it also talks about cardiac and then shock and some other things. The textbook itself is a really good reference guide, and you can read like, 1 or 2 chapters at a time. It's a little bit dense, as you can see, and not a whole lot of pictures. I personally like pictures, but this one doesn't have too much of them. And then really talks about your treatment of them. Even if you're not an advanced provider, maybe you're an EMT, the nice thing about most NAEMT classes is that these classes can be scaled to what provider level you are. So if you're an EMT, you can still take AMLS, and then you just kind of learn it up to your level. And we've had a lot of our first responders take versions of AMLS and really like it. So this is kind of my third book that's really helped me, and I felt like it was one of the most valuable certification classes that I've gone through since being a paramedic. Moving into the tactical medical side of things, TACMed Essentials, this textbook is not going to teach you how to do tactical medicine, so to speak. It does kind of discuss certain concepts in tactical medicine, some assessment parts, but what I really found this useful for is it gives you great suggestions on what kind of equipment should be on your gear and what you should be carrying with you. It also really delves deep into the makeup of SWAT teams and tactical medical units and kind of how they change throughout the nation. So if you're somebody that's kind of looking at getting into tactical medicine, this book is a really good primer. It's something that gives you a good foundation, teaches you kind of how to make your kits, gives you a little bit of medicine in here, which is quite valuable. And it's more than just a little bit. They've got several chapters dedicated to it, but it's nowhere near the extent that this is, which we'll talk about in a second. And I found this really useful. This is what I've used to basically advise the building of every kit that I have that I use for the tactical world. So I'd highly recommend this. This is also the textbook that goes along with TACMed Essentials in Peoria, Illinois that I went through. And one of the authors is actually Dr. Wiffler, if you can see that there. And he's the doctor that teaches that. So he's really involved in this, and I really like this textbook. All right, the last book I have in here is also probably the biggest, and this fits a variety of different providers and people. As a civilian, I'm not sure you're going to get a whole lot of benefit out of this book. It goes pretty in depth in a lot of trauma care. If you're interested in it, by all means get it. But this is the pHTLS, which is Pre-Hospital Trauma Life Support textbook, and this specifically is the TCCC, so the Tactical Combat Casualty Care version of that textbook. This is put on by NAEMT again, and really this textbook here is the Bible for tactical medicine and trauma care in general. When you hear me talking about what tourniquets I like to use, what's recommended, the people that put this out are the American College of Surgeons, the Committee for Trauma, and a bunch of really high-powered people in the tactical medical world put on this textbook. So this really will tell you all the recommendations, what's approved, what's not approved, what the latest science says. Now, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because this is actually the 8th edition. They just came out with the 9th edition, which is in the mail for me now, or it should be. But this textbook will go into really the medical side of tactical medicine. It doesn't talk about tactics a whole lot, but it gives you your traumatic medical assessments and goes in depth on like prolonged field care, antibiotic suggestions, medication suggestions, what the latest science says, what tools are approved for use, and goes really in depth in that. So I highly recommend this textbook and going through this class for anybody that's a tactical medical provider or anybody that provides trauma care in austere environments. So, if you're an EMT, paramedic, nurse that's on the street, I don't know, what have you, this is a great book to have. They do have a civilian version of this, which takes off Some of the prolonged field care kind of gets rid of some of your tactical medical assessments. It's a little bit thinner, and that's just your plain pHTLS textbook. It's also a great resource for somebody that might not be in that tactical environment, might not want that. I'd recommend getting that one because it's a lot of the same core content. One other book that I don't know where it is, I actually just moved, which is why stuff's a little bit weird, and I will explain all of that in next week's video. Some big changes in my life, some great things, but this channel isn't going anywhere, don't worry. But while I was packing, I actually lost this book. I'd recommend getting a copy of the 60-Second EMT. It's a great textbook that kind of delves into differential diagnoses, and it's really no frills. You see this, what should you be thinking? And it's a really good textbook to have. Like I said before, there are a ton of different textbooks and resources out there for you. This is certainly not the only things that are useful. There are great reference guides out there for a ton of different providers, and I'm sure you guys have had experience with a lot of that you can leave in the comments down below. So I really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm going to be kind of explaining what's going on in my life in next week's video. Check out my Instagram page. I just released who won that IFAC. Other than that, you have any questions, suggestions, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.